Welcome to Coach. Okay, well, I don't talk about some of the stocks I have traded every now and then on this YouTube community because for me, I think I've moved beyond proving to people that I know what I am doing and I know how Nigerian stock market works. But then, because of the lessons behind my pick, that's why sometimes I come here to share some of my stock picks and how I am able to grow my portfolio this year. In short, year on year. So today I want to talk about eight Nigerian stocks that gained 100 to 400% in 7 months. Now, these eight Nigerian stocks is not normal ranking that you see on media where they will tell you top 10 Nigerian stocks that did well in half year. No, we're talking about Nigerian stocks that we recommended in Glofolio, stocks that we picked right from the bottom before they picked up. So we are not talking about stocks that just went haywire or did well. Yeah, I know in the market there are some stocks that did far more than this return, but I'm not mentioning them. I'm talking about the ones we recommended. Now, why am I limiting into the ones we recommended? Because I want to show you certain things. I want to show you certain strategies. I want to show you things that would help you find these kind of stocks, how to be able to re-strategize, how to focus on possible or potential winners in the stock market. So you don't have to be chasing stock. As I speak right now, a lot of stocks are at the top of the market. As I speak right now, people are jumping into the stock market now because they feel that, oh, Nigerian stock is blasting higher. And then even beginners are pumping money because they think, oh, some of them might even enter, and then in less than 1 week, they're already up by 60%, and they think that's how Nigerian stock market works. No. So I want to share the strategies behind these returns and how you can use them to grow your portfolio, meaning even in a bear market, even if the market dumps, these strategies are evergreen. These strategies will keep you, these strategies will help you focus on top winners. So let's look at my usual disclaimer. The ideas shared in this video are based on my personal research and calculations. Kindly do your due diligence before you invest in this company stock, in any of this company stock. The stock market comes with a lot of risk due to uncertainties. People don't understand this part. All they want to see is how much am I going to earn? Oh, XYZ earned 100% in 3 months. So let me quickly rush to buy and see if I can earn. There is a lot of risk in the stock market. And one of the lessons you're going to learn here is how to reduce that risk, how to eliminate that risk. And please, this is not a recommendation, right? So even though I might be mentioning one or two stocks that still has huge upside potential in the market, but then it's already high. But please make sure you vet my recommendation based on your risk profile. Yes, I'll be mentioning one or two stocks that I think has a lot of upside potential because of the trend, and you will see that as we proceed. Even though the price has rallied, but I think there's a lot of upside potential. For me, in the community, I told them that this stock is actually an explosive stock they should watch out for. So let's look at this top picks in the market. Now, these are the stocks I recommended on Glofolio platform. So, like I said, these are not stocks that I picked based on ranking. These are what I recommended, and then you can see what their results are. So, first one is Northern Nigerian Flour Mill. So, and like I said, as I am mentioning this stock, I will try as much as possible to go to Glofolio platform so that you can see real time when it was recommended, the analysis behind that recommendation, and then at the entry price we bought the stock. So let's move on to Glofolio platforms. This is Glofolio platform. So I'm going to refresh. Yes, these are my latest recommendation. You can see the last one was June 23. I don't recommend stocks every day. See, one of the things that had kept me going in this market is that I don't chase stocks. I don't chase stocks. So you'll be surprised that despite the fact that Nigerian stocks have been blasting higher in July, we have not recommended any stock in July. What am I? Why? Because most of the stocks I've recommended so far, they are some of them are still within the buy range. And number two, we're just waiting to milk as much return as we want in the market. So what we're doing right now is watching some stocks go up, take some profits. Like for me now, I'm taking some profits and I'm rotating it back into certain stocks that are still at the bottom. And in our last webinar, I told them, I mentioned two stocks that they should quickly jump on because they are still within the market. In short, one of them popped yesterday, and most likely it will start going up. So you don't chase stock. Let stocks come to you, right? Just like a hunter, when you go to the bush to hunt for maybe a meat, what do? You keep your trap and then you go back home and relax. Then you go back to your trap. So what you're focused on is the trap and not where the animal. So by the time they play around and then they come to your trap, what happened? You have them. So, but if you start chasing one animal to another, you will not catch any. That's what most people are doing in the stock market. So let's move on. So I mentioned Northern Nigerian flour mill. So just hope that I will remember the headline I used, but then I should be able to remember them. So let's look for when we recommended Northern Nigerian flour mill. So you have to be patient. This is not a section I want to rush because there's so much to learn here. And when you learn them, it builds confidence in the market. So yes, December 1st. So that's close to the new year. December 1st, 2024, one bearish stock to buy before it bounces back stronger. One bearish stock to buy before it bounces back stronger. That was Northern Nigerian flour mill. You can see right here. So I did a lot of analysis on Northern Nigerian flour mill and all that. You see, I always tell my members that forget the fact that many of these stocks have rallied higher. Forget the fact that the prices are far above the recommended entry price. See, if I am joining this kind of community, I will read every content, I will read every article because there is always something to learn. So it is not whether the stock is up or down, but why did you recommend that stock? I always share that why in this particular analysis. So I try as much as possible to reduce my, just make sure I don't write much because it takes me a lot of time to research. So if I had to write it the way I researched it, I'm sure a lot of people will be bored. But then I still need to keep some important facts together. That's why if you look, they're mostly summary, but then they are very, very powerful. Now look at the period I recommended Northern Nigerian flour mill around 36 to 40 naira or less. 36 to 40 naira or less. So let's go to um, our charts. When was Northern Nigerian flour mill recommended? You can see into the new year. So you see right here around January 2025, it was even around 40, 41. Look at the period. Now, notice one thing. You can see the period I recommended the stock. It was right at the bottom of is an important key level. You can see before the stock shot higher, from that price to reach a high of almost 130. You can see right here. So look at the period we enter, which correspond with what you have on my recommendation. You can see here, and the date too. So you see that when we recommend Nigerian flour mill, the stock was at the bottom of the market. And interestingly, the stock may not even be attractive at this region because a normal trader or an investor will look at that and say, ah, this stock has been down. This stock was 53 or 50 years, 53 in April and it's down. And then media will not even tell you anything about the stock because media likes to pick stocks that have rallied. That's why a lot of people are being deceived today. Once they mention top 10 stocks that deliver 100%, people will rush to, people like to read um stocks that have delivered. They want to see, but they don't pay attention to those ones that are still at the bottom that the media have not picked. So the moment the media start talking about it, they will start buying. Now imagine that this stock has rallied to 100, 130. Someone will quickly rush to buy it, thinking it will rally into 200. And what happened? The stock dumped back to 103. Then the question is, oh, what happened? I bought at 130 and it's down. And then the next conclusion is Nigerian stock is not good. I'm losing money, blah, 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 because you did not follow the strategy that I'll be sharing with you shortly. So you will see what all these stocks have in common as we proceed. So that's not a Nigerian flour mill. Now we have Presco. Presco. Did we recommend Presco in Glofolio community? Yes, we did. So let's look for that recommendation in Glofolio community. So one super growth G30 stocks to buy for double-digit return. This was January 6th. Yes, you can see here, this was January 6, 2025. I tagged it one super growth G30 stocks to buy for double. So what is G30? G30 is our in-house index. We have an in-house index in Glofolio, so it's like Glofolio 30. Now, G30 was called from NGS 30. Now, what makes it G30 is that number one, we focus on only NGS 30, which are top 30 most capitalized companies, heavyweight companies in Nigerian stock markets. Now, before they can become G30, they must be fundamentally sound oversold stock. So G30 stocks are fundamentally sound oversold stocks in NGS 30 index. So I actually came up with this G30 index because of our deep pocket investors. There are deep pocket investors in our community, so they don't trade random stocks. I can't be going to the community and be dropping stocks that they cannot buy. Why? Because of liquidity. When you buy a stock, don't just be so excited. Don't be so excited that you're going to make money in the market. Focus on risk. The two risks: number one, risk downside risk, which is very key. Number two is liquidity risk. You don't want to buy a stock that when it's time to sell, it becomes difficult for you to sell because of the huge number you have. And I've taught them in the community how to check for liquidity in the stock market, how to know whether the stock you want to buy is liquid or not. Some of you will just be shouting, oh, it's not liquid, it's not liquid, and then you will watch the stock go up. Liquidity is not based on what you think. Liquidity is relative to your capital. So a stock may be liquid to you, but may not be liquid to another person. So I've showed them in the portfolio community how to check for liquidity. Now watch Presco. Now this is Presco. In short, this is one of the interesting analysis that I did on Glofolio platform. And look at first, I'm just trying to show you what I at the recommended price. Now we bought Presco at 493 to 520, and guess the period, January 6th. So let's look at Presco on platform, January 6th. January 6th is within this region. You can see here January 6th. Can you see? Can you notice something again when it was down, brief, at also key level? And then what happened? The stock has moved from 493,520 to reach 1,200. Did you see? So you can see that our entry was on points. What I'm trying to show you, I'm showing you exact like that entry you wished you would have probably bought that stock. That region you wished you would have bought that stock before they move. So what we do in Glufolo community is that we buy them before they move. And I teach this in my ETC section. We buy them before they move. Some of you, it's when they've moved that you start talking about hot stocks, hot stock, hot stock. Buy them when they are cold. Don't buy them when they are hot. Buy them when they are cold. That's what it means. You can see, right? The moment they become hot, you sell back and then collect your money. Do you understand? This is it right here. When a stock become hot, that's the time to dump. You can't be carrying fire. Fire is hot. You don't carry fire. What you hold is a cold drink. So when it's cold, you hold it. The moment it becomes hot, you dump it. So when they're talking about hot stocks in the market, that's what you should be talking about, dumping that stock and taking part. At least, even if you're not selling everything, you're not taking profits, protect your capital by exiting the market first and let the remaining one to run. See Presco here. Look at what Presco did in the market. And you can see on Global Community, we recommended Presco at on January 6, 2025. Now, I'm taking my time to share this because we want to prove to you that we know what we're doing in portfolio. The next one was Okomu Oil. What was Okomu Oil recommended? Let's move on to the platform again. Let's see when Okomu Oil was recommended. So I'm looking at Okomu Oil, Okomu Oil, Okomu Oil, Okomu Oil. Um, let's see. Um, Oil was mentioned as a G30 stock. So I'm trying to locate the G30 stocks on Okomu. Let's go back to two. So sorry, this might take time, but then you just have to be patient. After all, you need patience to trade stock. So there's no need to be in a haste. So let's go back. Okay, this was Presco. And then let's see. G30 stocks. Okay, yes, before the new year, I think that was December 12th. Yes, I think a month apart between Presco and Okomu Oil. Yes, this is it here, December 12th. So before the new year. So even during the new year, it was still within the buy range. So you can see December 12th, these G30 stocks has delivered 400% plus in 5 years. It's a strong buy. And what was that? Okomu Oil. You can see here, I still carried out my analysis on Okomu Oil and look at the entry price, 360 to 372. 360 to 372. Let's look at Okomu Oil within that region, 360 to 372. So that's right here. Can you see? 360 to 372. Can you see within this region? You can see the period dump, you can see key level, and then so you can see the period we entered before the bigger spike. We don't enter at the middle of the rally. We don't enter at the top. We enter right before. That's what I always talk about, getting early, getting early, getting early. People think my multiple mentions of getting early is just a way to attract people to probably subscribe to our community. That's why I'm taking my time to prove to you that we know what we're doing. So I didn't mention top stocks that have delivered based on ranking. I'm telling you top stocks that have delivered that we recommended in Globfolio community. This is it right here. You can see 360, there are before something before the rally. That is Okomu Oil. You can see here 360 to 372, even around 400. I still told some people to buy the stock. And then you can read up my recommendation. You can see right here how I recommended the stock around December 12th into the new year, and then the stock went up. Let's move to the next one. Fidson Healthcare. Fidson Healthcare is actually an interesting stock for me. The reason it's interesting was that the stock was a no-brainer. Like I saw the trend, I saw everything. Even before the financials started improving, I already showed people in my Globfolio community why that stock would pick up. And I told them, and I think that was February 6th, 2025. I said, this stock may break out of 52 weeks high. This stock may break out of 52 weeks high. Can you see? That's Fitson Healthcare. Fitson Healthcare. And at what price did I recommend this stock? I told them to enter around 17 to 18 naira. 17 to 18 naira. Now, even before then, some people that joined ETC course in October, I had already started shouting this stock. Then it was around 15, 16 naira. Then, and I showed them the setup. Then in February, the stock was still within the buy range. So let's quickly look at fixing on my screen so you would understand um, what I'm saying. Now, look at it here. Where was, you can see here, you can see 18 naira was within this region. 18 naira, you can see this was exactly before the pickup. You can see here, 18 naira. So you see this period here, that was when I told them to mop up fixing. So between 17 to 18 naira, so the stock did not move immediately. So the stock was still giving us more buy window. And then what happened? Look at where so you can see the exact period we captured that stock. Exact period we entered the market. Now, in October, during ETC section, I also mentioned the stock and I give them analysis. Now, on the platform, I took my time to explain detail some of the things that would drive the stock to a new high. Now, I said technically the stock is trading above weekly averages together with higher low structure. A sign that buyers' interest may push the stock to retest its 2024 and achieve a new all-time high. All-time high. Where is fixing today? All-time high of 46 naira from 17 to 46 naira. That's what fixing is doing in the market. So now I shared a lot of things on fixing. You could just take your time. Like I said, take your time to go through my analysis. That will help you understand what is happening. At some point, what could have been responsible for the change in sentiment? So I understood what when the sentiment was moving from negative to positive, and then I combined that with financials, economic events, technical, and the whole thing pointed to the fact that fixing was going up. But if you look at it with your normal eye, like the eye you have used to analyze stock that had not worked, you would think the stock is not a buy. You would think the stock is a loss-making company. Let me tell you the truth. A loss-making company can also be a good buy in the market. You will learn why. Just hold this. You will learn why I say so as we proceed. So this is fixing one from 17 to reach a high of 46 naira in the market. And then it showed the top 40, 44 when I even shared this. So which means it's already around 160%. Now remember, I have sold a significant portion of these stocks I'm mentioning. So don't rush to the markets to buy them. Most, in short, all of them are actually at their all-time high right now. So if you rush in to buy them because I told you there are top 8 stocks in the market, please, you would be do yourself more harm than good because the dump on these stocks may be brutal if you are caught. So please don't buy them. I'm only try to show you the early entry we take in stocks in Globfolio community. When I say go and buy stocks now, you may not see reasons why that stock is a good buy. But if you pay attention, if you allow your mind to learn, you begin to understand the model I used for, especially for those that are in ETC. You will see there are certain numbers, information that are in financial statement that are not visibly open to you. All you need to do is to take your time to do your calculation yourself. There are numbers that are not in the financial statement. You have to do the calculation yourself before you know whether the stock is. So it's not whether a company just declare profit or loss. Pay attention to this number, which I teach in my ETC class. Now, the fifth one is May and Baker. May and Baker. Let's look at the period I recommended May and Baker. Let's see. May and Baker. So I talked about May and Baker. Let me see if I can find that stock. Let's go back to one. May and Baker. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, this stock reported. Let me see if that's the stock. Yes. Now you see here, that was May 7th. Look at the period, May 7th. This stock reported a 70% growth in first quarter profit by now, May 7th. Let's look at it here. May 7th. This stock reported a 70% growth in first quarter profit by now, May and Baker. I said something here, catching a good stock with impressive financials at the bottom and holding it to the top remains the surest way to build wealth in the stock market. If you doubt this, ask Global members who had bought Nigerian flour mill, Betaglass, Okomu Oil, Presco, and Sky AVN. If you bought my stocks, my early stocks for 2025, like one of the hottest stocks I mentioned, you should watch out for in 2025. Sky AVN was there, and go and see what Sky AVN is doing right now. So, at what price did we enter? May and Baker was recommended at 8 to 9 naira, 8 to 9.5. So, let's look at May and Baker on charts. Where is May and Baker right now? Where is May and Baker? May and Baker is at 17 naira after reaching a high of 18 naira. So, at what price did I recommend May and Baker? 8 to 9 naira. Where is 8 to 9 naira? 8 to 9 naira is around this region. Can you see? Right before the big jump. We didn't enter at the middle. We didn't enter at the top. We entered right before the pickup. You can see 8 to 9 naira is around this region after a dump. Did you see that? 8 to 9 naira is around this region. So what exactly am I doing in this market to capture this big return in the market? What exactly am I doing to capture big profit in this market? What exactly am I doing to know when a stock is about to pick up, to enter early? These are the things you wished you could know or you could do before a stock peak. Don't worry, I will share my tips and then you can quickly grab them. Please write them if it's possible. Before you buy a stock, put this detail at the back of your mind when I start sharing them shortly. But then I want to show you, then Champions Brewery. Champions Beauty was also a no-brainer for us in the portfolio community. Now, I told them in the community that, let's go back, let's see, yes, April 27, I've shared this multiple times for those that are in the community. This is one of our biggest winner in the market. These consumer goods stocks we saw for two simple reasons. I also shared that. First reason was that I noticed how that the NGS was about to break out of 106,000 basis points. So this was one of the pointer. In the stock market, 90%, 80 to 90% of the move, of the momentum that your stock needs to grow or to spike depends on overall market sentiment. So if the overall market sentiment is negative, whether you own good stocks or bad stock, it will affect that stock. You will not see, it's even if it's a good stock. So that's why it's always good to enter before the proper bull run. In the portfolio community, I always analyze the NGS. I tell them whether we're still in a bull market or bear market. Even the period we had a market pullback, I told them, no, we are still in a bull market, but this is just a pullback. But for this market to move to bear, we want to see change of structure. Now, as long as the price is still above the previous low, I did a lot of analysis right there. And then those analysis helps to build confidence in the market. Those analysis will keep you on track. So it was within this region. You can see right here. So this was where I was sharing the analysis with them. 106,000 basis points is around this region here. So I told them if the market breaks out of this 106 basis points, then most likely going to touch a new high. So the essence is I knew that understanding the ASI, which is the all share index, can help us know when to enter because this is driven by market sentiment and your stock is just less than 1% of this index. So if the index is tanking, it may affect your stock. So that's why you must pay attention to all share index. And what happens to Champions Brewery from that price? So let's look at the entry. Now, our entry on Champions Brewery, although that's the first reason, second reason, you'll find that when you read through our analysis. Our entry was around 4 to 5. And where is 4 to 5 on Champions Building? Let's call that out. Look at it right here. Can you see? 4 to 5 is around here. That means at the beginning of the big rally. Can you see here? At the beginning, right before the spike. Right before the spike. Now, some of you would enter at the middle because it has moved from 4 to 8, and then maybe you hold it. Now, when you enter around 8, it's not like it's not good. It's a good buy. But guess what? Your downside risk is very, very high. So when we're buying a stock, we buy a stock that its downside risk is very low. I'll talk about it shortly. So what I'm trying to share with you is how that we enter this stock right before the spike. That's the key thing I want you to understand here. We enter right before the spike. So let's move on to the next one. NASCON. NASCON was also another interesting stock. NASCON, I think I've mentioned a lot of this stock, so you can um just look at the other ones so that we don't spend our time on these stocks. But then the lesson behind it is what I'm interested in. So once I'm done with this, you can check out the other one. May and Baker was also a hit. So let's look at NASCON. When did I recommend NASCON? Look at one interesting thing I said about NASCON before the stock picked up. You find one thing that's very, very interesting here. So NASCON fundamentals was a mess. NASCON fundamentals was a mess around that period. That's if I look at your own perspective, if I look at the stock from your perspective. But in January 15th, I said something. I said demand surge may help this beaten down stock recover. Demand surge. And at what price did I mention NASCON? I mentioned NASCON around 38 to 40. Let's go back. Where is 38 to 40? 38 to 40 is around this region. Can you see? Right before the big spike. Right before the big spike. Now, this stock was beaten down. A lot of people bought this stock in 2024 because of the whole announcement, 2023, 2024, because of the whole announcement, merger, and a significant number of traders were in loss on NASCON. A lot of people, they were in loss on NASCON. So if you tell them to go buy NASCON at 36, they will be scared. But guess what? When NASCON was still at the top, I told the portfolio members, hey, please leave this stock for now. Hands off for now. This is where I would mention the key level to show that I wouldn't expect the stock to drop to 23. But my buy signal showed up early. So it was around this region when I saw this setup. Now, immediately I saw that setup. I told them, you know what, it's time for us to buy NASCON because there is a demand surge. Now, unusual volume. Let me even see if I can show you some of the update I shared on that stock. Let's see if I can find that update. If I can find, yes, yes. So as I said, trading is a game of discovering demand and supply imbalance, a gap that can help anyone pocket good. NASCON closed above all key averages. I always use all the key averages I always use to spot influx of buyers, a sign that demand is picking up after a brief sell-off. The last time it dipped below these averages, it was in March. Price dumped from 50 to a year low of 20. A comfortable close and open above this major average, which I teach in my ETC in 10 months, is the first sign that insider activity or market moving news is not far. So what exactly is driving the 37% recovery from 28 to 35? While I can't pinpoint the specific answer because I don't work with NASCON, I'm not a member of board of directors, I don't have insider information, but I know what to use. I know how to spot inside activity using technical. One can pinpoint or provide specific answers. I often rely on technical analysis and volume trend. So this was the two major thing I used. Last week, that was before the recommendation, over 52 million of NASCON stock was traded so far, and so far, an estimated 54 million units have exchanged hands, clearly above the 8 to 10 million average units noticed in the last term. Average volume in the last 10 months was 8 to 10 million units average, and suddenly I saw a spike to 52 million, 34 million. Who is buying? And coupled with the fact that the stock is even giving us an ETC buy setup. So it was a no-brainer that something was happening. You know, one thing about Nigerian market is that before you see certain information about the company, maybe like updates, fundamentals, news. Some people are already privy to that news. There are people that they have access to CFOs of most of these companies. They could just easily place a call as if they are doing market research or they're carrying out market research and they are getting insider information that are tradable. So, but then you cannot hide. See, even if you're an insider, you cannot hide. Why? Because you see, volume would always pinpoint the activity. See, there's a footprint in the stock market that signals the entrance of new buyer, even if there's no news. I'm sure there are times you will see a stock spiking, like the stock is peaking, you'll be asking, what is happening? What is happening? Well, because you see, it's because of insiders. So although it doesn't happen on all stocks, but then if you follow volume and price, it will tell you that something is happening. So I think those are some of the reasons before NASCON came up with impressive quarterly results, and then we enter. So you can see 38 to 40. So where is NASCON today? NASCON is at all-time high of 75. NASCON is at all-time high of 75. 75. You can see. So let's say 75 minus 38, that's 37. 37 divided by 38, that's almost 97%. So this is not 200, this is 97%. Sorry about that. So close to 100%. So we're about to hit 100% on NASCON. And guess what? NASCON still has good upside potential. Yes, NASCON still has huge upside potential. So I see the possibility of NASCON breaking out of this all-time high, this region, and then to blast higher. I see a possibility of NASCON doing that, and I have a reason why I've said that. So this was the reason. This was one of the stocks I called an explosive stock in the community. NASCON may blast higher, but it's not a buy recommendation because downside risk is very low. I'm just telling you what I think will happen on NASCON stock. We are expecting Q2. The Q1 result was very good. If you go by quarterly results, if you look at Q2 result, if NASCON recovers, delivers impressive growth, I won't be surprised whatever happens from here. But sure, 97% profits is good. So it's just for me to find a way to exit my capital and let the remaining one run. So NASCON, there's tendency that this stock will break into all-time high because right now it's testing it's close to its previous high of 76 in January 2024. What is responsible for this rally? A lot. A lot. I'm talking about this shortly in the community, like a write-up. I'll do my analysis of this company once the Q2 results is out. This is the reason why you should join the folio. Look at the period I picked each of these stock right before they spike. Right before they spike. So what are the lessons learned on this stock? What are the lessons? You can see there's Betaglass at 53 naira and then topped 300 naira. Let's even look at that stock. 53 naira, yes. Yes, my members are here. My Glufolio members are here. They are also my YouTube subscribers. So if I'm lying on any of this company, some of them will probably have told you or they will mention it. 53 naira on Betaglass. Where's 53 naira? Right here, right here. You can see before the big spike, we were already in. Before the big spike, we were already in. How do you catch bottom pot stocks like this? It's not magic. Before the big spike, yes, it's possible that someone might have entered at 163 because it went up. Yes, but the question is, how do you catch this kind of big spike? By entering early, 53 naira right here before the big spike. So these are the things we do in Glufolo community. So I didn't share these stocks just to hype, just to make it look like, oh, we are making money. But what I want you to do is to focus on the strategy behind it. Each of these stocks right here, we caught them at the bottom. We caught them right before the spike. So the lessons to learn from these stocks. Number one lesson, which I think you might even be surprised. First one, look at all these stocks. Did you see any banking stock here? Majority of top winners year on year in the Nigerian stock market have always been non-banking stocks. Majority of top winners. If you have not noticed that, go back to top stocks in 2024, top stock in 2025, in 2024, 2023, 2022, go and check previous winners. Majority of them are non-banking stocks. So if you're looking for big winners, explosive gain in the market, focus on non-banking stocks. Now, it doesn't mean banking stocks will not do well. Sure, banking stocks are flying now, but this is not going to be a regular thing. It's just because of stronger capital base, recapitalization, and a whole lot that is happening. Don't expect this big spike you're seeing on banking stocks to be recurring year on year. Why? Because of regulatory risk. So I said this is a trend I have noticed for a long time. Stocks in consumer goods, oil and gas, healthcare, IT, industrial, etc., as long as it's a non-banking stocks, had historically topped gainers charts year on year. So if you're looking for big winners in the market, most of them are non-banking stocks. So if you wished or you had a plan to grow your portfolio by this number and you're carrying bulk of non-banking stocks, I'm sorry, you may not achieve that, except you had bought these stocks for income. Banking stocks are good for income, meaning you want to buy them for dividend. Oh, they provide a lot of stability. A lot of people are enjoying passive income from banking stocks. They are perfect because of stability and they are well regulated. And that regulation brings safety for you as an investor. But if you're looking for capital gain, capital appreciation, like explosive gain in the market year on year, please take your mind off banking stocks and move to non-banking stocks. Look at these stocks here. In short, we have more. I could have shared more in our follow community. We have a lot of them that we have shared, but I just have to pick some of them. You see here, we have more. So, but I don't want to bore us with top performing stocks. The thing is lesson learned because when you catch the lesson, when you catch the strategy, it becomes easier. So rather than giving you fish, let me teach you how to fish. So banking stocks, you can see where if you want to find next explosive gain, focus on non-banking stocks. Why? Regulatory risk is high. See, there are times CBN can just come up with circular bank. You see, we saw what happened like a few days ago. Now, what happened a few days ago for me? I think it was not necessary. It was not necessary. But if you go back to as far back as 2017, 2018, for those that have been in my community, there was a time I told them that I would not be trading banking stocks again. I used to trade off banking stocks for trading. It was only when I'm investing for dividend that I hold them. So because the regulatory risk was so high, today CBN circular, next tomorrow CBN. See, one thing about banking stocks, you will buy them, you will do a lot of analysis, but one circular will make your analysis useless, will render it valueless. You have to go back again, watch, like fear. But then there are times where you will just hold yourself and say, no, if you are bought for income and capital appreciation, then why should you sell? Sorry, for income, then why should you sell? Continue to hold them because whatever CBN is doing is to ensure that the banks are stable, banks are strong, and also investors fund and shareholders fund, as well as customer funds are safe. So for me, I think for stability, banking stocks are good. But if you're looking for explosive gain in the market, non-banking stocks generate higher return. This is based on my research. In our next August webinar, I told them yesterday that I'll be sharing why using data to explain this part. So if you want to know why, join our community. In August webinar, I will use data. You will see I will use data to explain this year on year. Now, most of these stocks benefited from macro events. So all these stocks you see here, what was responsible for their spike? It was macro events. Macro events. Some of them were beaten down last year because of exchange rates, interest rates, whatever economic policies. I share that in my ETC. But then look at exchange rate. Exchange rate has moderated a little bit. So you shouldn't be surprised that consumer goods stocks are surging high because these were stocks that were beaten down in 2024. So most of them were emerging from low base because of exchange rate moderation. Go look at Champion Beauty performance in 2024. Go look at NASCON in 2023, 2024. Go look at Fidson in 2023, 2024. Go look at May and Baker. You see, some of them were beaten down. But because they benefited from macro event, now, one of the reasons why they were beaten down was macro events. And then the other way around, the same macro events helped to lift them up. So buy stocks that are benefiting from macro events. And you'll be surprised to know that there's actually a technical screen for macro events. I teach this in my ETC section. So I teach this model in my ETC section where I show my students how to technically, yes, you can use technical analysis to screen for stocks that are benefiting from macro events. Our next ETC section is in October. If you want to learn this, come to ETC. If you want to learn how I do this, come, I will teach you. There is a technical analysis. So even before you start thinking on whether the stock is benefiting from macro event or not, there's just one screener you need to plug in. It will weed out stock. So any stock that is benefiting from macro event will automatically show up on that screen. So then you now begin to ask. So what you be asking at that moment is what is driving the stock? What's that macro trend driving the stock? And not whether the stock is benefiting or not. So I show them how to technically screen for stocks that are benefiting from macro event like inflation, exchange rate, interest rate, and so on. Now, these eight stocks are currently benefiting from macro trend. So it's not a surprise that their share prices are surging. So all these stocks are benefiting from macro events. They are benefiting, whether it's exchange rate or whether it's whatever rate. So like these two stocks now, they have zero debt to equity, so they are not even exposed to interest rate risk. Now, number two, they are benefiting from inflation surge in price of palm oil. Then, if you look at Fidson suffered. Exchange rate that brought Fidson down was also responsible for the spike you're seeing here. Go check my analysis on Fidson. I was very specific on why I think Fidson will spike. Go and check them. Champions Build the same thing too. So they all benefited from macro events. And then the third one, they were bottom pot peak. I showed you and I've demonstrated this on charts. And you don't need anything to, these stocks all, we were all at the bottom before the spikes. So let's look at each of the stocks on chart. We've already done that and how they recovered from the bottom after a minor extensive pullback. These stocks were down with limited risk. So the period we bought them, they were down. And I always say, he that is down, fear no fall. Downside risk was low. So, but everyone was chasing high until they spiked. So when they were down, people were chasing high. People were chasing the one that was at the top of the market. The moment they start picking up, people will start chasing them. When a stock is hot, you sell them, you take profits, you exit your capital and let the profits run because you don't carry something that is hot. You only carry something that is cold, meaning buy them when they are cold and sell them when they are hot. When you carry something that is hot, it burns you. So these people that are shouting hot stock, hot stock, hot stock, stop buying hot stock. Go and look for cold stock that are still at the bottom of the market. Now they look unattractive because of sell-off. Some of them they have gone through sell-off. So when you say buy them, you like, why would you tell me to go and buy a stock that is down? Look at NASCON, for instance. NASCON was down. Nobody could have entered NASCON, especially people that have lost money. Why would you tell me to go and buy NASCON when I'm already down by 30, 40, 50%? Imagine buying NASCON at 70 and it's down to 30. The moment you rise to 40, you will sell out of fear, thinking, okay, let me just take my small loss and take my small money out. But then you watched it go back to the previous high because you don't understand bottom pot peak. Buy them at the bottom. They look unattractive because of sell-off, but guess what? That is where I find rare gems. That's where the rare gems are. They are at the bottom. Bottom pot stocks are the sweetest in the market because your downside risk is very low. Now, why these stocks are non-banking stocks? Why they benefited from macro events? Why they are at the bottom? I also did not forget the fact that sound fundamental analysis plays a larger role during my selection. Fundamental analysis for short-term trading is not the same as fundamental analysis for long-term investing. I've told you this multiple times. Your broker will send you analysis that presents that stock as long-term investment, and then you will rush to buy thinking it will go. Now, the way they share the whole recommendation is funny. Well, I'm not trying to discredit them, but the truth is that I've noted their performance. I don't want to mention it, and they have performed below market index. Now, as a trader, you invest in growth while long-term holders invest in value. Remember, I told you that even a loss-making stock can be a good buy. Yes, a loss-making stock can be a good buy. A profit-making stock can be a sell. Why? The difference is growth. What if that loss-making company is now narrowing its loss? Previous year, it made a loss of 10 billion. This year, the loss dropped from 10 billion to 1 billion. Now, that's a loss-making company, right? But this time, the loss narrowed down from 10 billion minus 10 billion to minus 10 billion to minus 1 billion. But the other one, which is value stock, profitable, but look at it here. The profit was 50 billion last year and it dropped to 20 billion. It was profitable, but what happened? The value dropped. The other one is a loss-making company, but there was growth. So as a trader, you invest in growth. So why did I buy NASCON? Because I saw growth coming, possibility of growth coming on that stock. So you invest in growth, long-term investor, you invest in value. So each of these stocks demonstrated impressive growth in their financials before their share price started peaking. So focus on growth. Growth is not about oh, is it making money? No, is what is the trend? You look at the stock from a trend perspective. You carry out historical trend. Look at the historical trend of that company. What is their performance relative to previous year, previous 2 years, or probably some months back? That's how you know whether the company is growing or not. So don't rush to say it was a loss. Let me leave the stock. No, focus on growth. So all these stocks demonstrated impressive growth. And finally, this is the best of them all. See, if you follow the first rule, second rule, third rule, and you miss this part, you will never make money. So patience. These were not overnight return. It took us 6 to 7 months to hit double or even triple digit returns. These were not overnight return. It was patience that helped us to hold this stock. So when you buy them and you are expecting that next week you're going to be an overnight millionaire, sorry, that won't work in the stock market. Patience. If you have done a good job, you bought them, it took us 6 to 7 months. So if I don't talk about this part, I will indirectly be sending a signal. I will indirectly be creating an impression that this is a get rich quick scheme. No, it took us 6 to 7 months to hit double or even triple digit returns in the market. Strategies show you where to plant your seed. Why? Patience teaches you to wait, ignore volatilities. You see these stocks. Let me tell you one interesting thing. These stocks were top losers at some point. Yes, we entered them. Some of them, their share price will dump. Top losers. But guess what? It is not price that determines my buy or sell decision. It is pattern. So when a stock is dumping, I focus on pattern and not price. When you focus on price, you'll be impatient, you'll be buying and selling every day. When you focus on pattern, you will keep your eye on the trend. So it is pattern that would help us hold on to a stock. And pattern will help you ignore volatilities in the market. Do you understand? When you ignore volatilities, you can then continue to hold until they see good return. That's if the stock pass through all these checklists that I've mentioned. The first one, non-banking stock. Second one, benefiting from macro event. Third one, bottom pot picks. Fourth one, sound fundamental. That's where you exercise patience. Patience is not something you carry out, you exercise on a wrong stock. Make sure your stock is good. Make sure it passes all these checklists and then you hold on. So when you ignore volatilities, you can then hold them until you see good return. I hope this helps. I hope this provides value. And I hope that at least you now learn something that will guide your next entry in the stock market. Stop chasing stock. Allow them to come to you. Allow them to come to you. That's what bottom post stock does for us. If this video makes sense to you, you can join our Glofolio community to catch the next hottest stocks benefiting from trends, especially stocks that are still at the bottom of the market. Go to glofolio.com/subscribe. And if you want more of these videos, kindly click subscribe. Also turn on notification bell so that when I release important videos like this, you'll be among the first to get notified. Also, join our monthly webinar. See, I don't know if someone else does it. We host monthly webinar back to back. We host from January, February, March, April, May, June. We just had our June section last Saturday, and we're looking forward to July. Every month we host webinar. The reason I host webinar is I want to keep you up to date based on what is happening in the economy, Nigerian markets, how it creates opportunities in the market, and then some of the stocks we are holding, and if there are top stocks to buy. In June, I showed them 7 strongest stocks to buy, and some of the stocks have moved. And out of that 7 strongest stocks, 2 were still at the bottom. And I mentioned that in our last webinar last Saturday, and then one of them went up. So these are the kind of updates I share. So you don't join our community and be following WhatsApp conversation. We host monthly webinars. So thank you so much for the time.